Hey, this is Ina, and welcome to part 5 of my continuing series on the Paris Commune. And today I want to talk about Mao Zedong and the Paris Commune. Now, Mao Zedong, compared to the others discussed here, has probably had the most experience in the actual attempt at building of socialism. Mao was also probably a political activist for longer than any of the others considered. Mao, for instance, joined the Chinese Communist Party in the early 20s, and before that had actually been politically active and remained so until his death in 1976. And Mao very much took over a lot of the lessons from Marx and Lenin, for instance, the need for the party, the suppression of counter-revolutionaries, and of course alliance with the royal masses. All of this was something Mao very much took up. And I'm not going to really go into that here, but because Mao really didn't deal so much with the Paris Commune on a theoretical level in the sense Lenin did with the state and the revolution. After 1949, Mao was the leader of the People's Republic of China. I've discussed this part of it many times, but we essentially have two roads in China. We have what we could call the Bourgeois Road, those who want the new democracy, a form of controlled capitalism, who essentially they want a country that's very much like a Western capitalist nation. Strong, powerful, with capitalist modes of production, and they very much are willing to rely upon these commandist methods of rule and the bureaucracy. Mao, on the other hand, is very much interested in popular empowerment, in pushing towards socialism, in changing the whole culture. So we have the mass line. We very much have a fusion of the leaders and the led under Mao. At least that's what he's pushing for. And we really have this a struggle between these two roads within the party and within Chinese society in general. Mao wants to root out a lot of the traditional feudal values of China, and a lot of people in the party are very much willing to embrace this. Well, we have various developments in China, those who want to copy the Soviet Union at various times in the early days with its 5-year plans, which are very much enforcing bureaucracy, commandism, inequality in many respects, even as they develop China. Mao is, of course, pushing for bold, new, radical paths to socialism, for instance, the Great Leap Forward. After the Great Leap Forward, which Maoist Rebel News actually probably did the best video I've seen on it, so I'd urge you to check out that for a better story. But Mao's ideas were pretty much sidelined for a while. And Mao sees the danger that China is in danger of changing color. It could go back to white, or capitalism, as it were. And in 1966, the Cultural Revolution, an attempt to wipe out those not literally, but wipe out those in the party taking the capitalist road, to really infuse socialism in the culture, to bring new ideas into the superstructure, will in turn release productive power at the base and ensure socialism. It'll remold people. And in one of the inaugural documents of the Cultural Revolution, I believe called the 16 Points, in I think point 9, Mao's calling for the Chinese society to very much have a system of power based on or a system of elections based on that of the Paris Commune. Now, initially, the Cultural Revolution begins in a lot of the schools and universities of China. And very quickly, like May 1966, by January of 1967, the Cultural Revolution has spread very much to China's cities. For instance, in Shanghai, there's an incredible amount of the workers are just rising up. They're really seizing power into their own hands. And we have, in Shanghai, by the end of January, the Shanghai Commune, which its leaders very much are trying to model on the Paris Commune. You have the old party that's wiped away. You have workers who've just taken power throughout the city. And you have a lot of this repeated elsewhere in China. Now, Mao even though he really wants a lot of this Paris Commune stuff to come into China so he can push back the bureaucracy, there's the danger because China is very much at this point, it's surrounded by a hostile Soviet Union in the north. The United States is bombing Vietnam to its south, and there's a ring of hostile countries nearby. China had actually just been at war with India a few years previously, and of course the U.S. fleet was protecting Taiwan. So Mao's not sure. You need to consolidate yourself. You need to defend against these external counter-revolutionaries, these hostile powers. And Shanghai eventually changed its name. The Shanghai Commune changed its name, and we had something called the 3-in-1 combination, which were those making up the new ruling power were the new mass organizations that had come up from the Cultural Revolution, students, workers, and so forth. And we had party and state officials, the other one, who had been reformed through the Cultural Revolution. They'd imbued many of the values, and we have the army, 3-in-1. Because some say that Mao, in pushing back from the Shanghai Commune, was betraying a lot of the Cultural Revolution values. I think Mao was much more interested in trying to consolidate the gains of this revolution, and he saw the 3-in-1 combination as the way to do it. And China, in roughly the next 9-10 years until his death, saw this massive outpouring of revolution, changes in the superstructure, and really an embrace of really pushing a continuing revolution under socialism in a sense we had never seen before. But after Mao's death, China reverts to capitalism. Does that mean that the ultimate lesson of the Paris Commune, that it's unrealizable, that it may have just worked in Paris? I don't think so. I think that Mao was right to consolidate, because it's not just about having the revolution. And the ecstasy that comes with that. You need to what comes for the day after. How do you continue mass participation? And I believe the Cultural Revolution failed for about 4 reasons. Mao, for instance, his ideas on continuing the revolution under socialism had little historical experience. He's kind of developing his ideas as the Soviet Union's moving towards this bureaucratic commandism. And he doesn't have much experience, and he's developing it rather late as the same thing's happening in China. And China also, again, it's surrounded by in many respects, hostile powers. And if China remains in disorder for too long, there can be external intervention. This is the era of the Vietnam War. And this danger of external intervention means a lot of old party cadres and state officials need to be rehabilitated. They need to be brought back in to maintain stability. And many said they, of course, embraced the values of the Cultural Revolution, that they weren't going to be bureaucratic commandists. But it turns out probably it may have just been skin deep, as it were. And supposedly Mao had full control over the army, yet if you look at the actual struggles of the Cultural Revolution, that probably wasn't quite as true. The army was very much interested in stability. At the same time, it was certainly interested in revolution, and you had a clash between two roads. And the Chinese masses were, in many senses, politically inexperienced and unprepared, although they did learn quickly. So Mao really pushed this to its limit, and in a sense, when we take up the lessons of the Paris Commune for today, when we decide, well, what should we do? How should we... Yeah, we want to take power, we want to remold society as socialism and communism. What do? We have to learn from Mao, Lenin, Marx, Bakunin, and others, and see if we can create, in a sense, a new synthesis. Mao, really pushed things to their limit, and he had to deal with some issues that remain open. I can't give you the answers about everything on this because, in a sense, it's going to come through practice, and Mao was really willing to push that practice to its limit, and Mao really much wanted the communes throughout China on the model of the Paris Commune, but we didn't have that. And I believe the reasons I enumerated can serve as an explanation why that didn't happen. But that's Mao on the Paris Commune. It's kind of a little abbreviated, but I hope it gives you some of the basics. So this is Ina. Until next time.